What's going on? Welcome to Asian Cosell. So here in my South Korea series of videos, what is it like being a white guy in South Korea? And yep, Jin interviews, interviews white dudes. So yeah, please don't get triggered over this. I'm just kidding, but yeah, let's get into it and let's listen in. So let's go.
White men in Korea. Do you think there's any advantages as a white man in Korea?
I have also been approached, not approached, but random girl said hi just because, just she wanted, I guess, to get my attention.
It's especially strange in situations where my Korean is better than their English, but they keep trying to speak English to me. That's really annoying, to be honest.
Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jin. Today I asked people about how is it like being a white man in Korea. Now let's check it out. What do you do in Korea?
Currently studying Korean at the Yonsei KLI.
Current exchange student at Kyunghee University.
I mostly work in the translation industry. I work on translations and editing and comparing translations and things like that.
I work at a university.
How has been your experience in Korea so far?
It's been very positive. I have not experienced any negative disposition towards me or me as a white person or as a foreigner so far.
It's honestly the best thing I've ever done out of all the things I've done in my life. And I'm not just saying this for the camera, but I'm most proud of my time here, working at the university, working with young people. When I first came here, I thought I might live here for a year, maybe two, but that was 15 years ago. So
That's a very broad question. Generally, my experience has been very positive. I quite enjoy living in Korea. Of course, there have been negative things, but the positive things outweigh the negative things by a lot. To give you some examples, I'm from a very small town in the countryside. Nothing is convenient from where I'm from, but in Korea, I can get anything very close to my home very quickly. It's very convenient to live in Seoul.
I've been loving it so far. The Korean culture is something else. It's totally not compared to Europe. Quite insane how generous and kind people are. And then they're really, really open and nice to you.
Like people are open to foreigners?
No, some people have very difficulties with speaking English, and you see that the people, like especially the older people, like they kind of tend to do not want to talk to us because they don't speak our language. First, we thought that they were really racist because they're like in restaurants, like no, don't come here, and we were like, it's just because we're white or something like that. But then we asked some Korean people, and they told us that's just because they don't speak English, so they find it a little bit scared to talk to us. What I fully understand now.
Today's topic is how is it like being a white man in Korea? I can see a lot of videos about black people living in Korea, but I couldn't see any videos about white men. So I wanted to cover this topic. So what is it like being a white man in Korea?
Okay, so interesting question. I think it's very much changed over time. So when I came to Korea 16 years ago, a white person was very rare, or any foreigners at all, especially outside of Seoul. You always felt like people were watching you or treating you differently. It's very different now. Nowadays, I usually don't even think about the fact that I'm different. I feel totally normal most of the time, but not always. And that's especially true in Seoul. When I travel outside of Seoul, I get questions, I get looks. But even in the countryside, it's different than it was 16 years ago.
well, I can't speak for all Caucasians. I can only speak from personal experience, but I do feel like there might be a higher level of tolerance for certain nationalities, for example, Canadian or American versus other nationalities. I do feel like there are different expectations and standards for foreigners in general, but perhaps there is a higher level of tolerance for a certain nationality.
Yes, I agree with this. Yep, especially because like especially in a lot of these Hagwons or academies. Sorry, gotta speak generally to the public. Yeah, you know, like the Americans and Canadians are like the highly desired one, and the pecking order goes like this. white girl, white male, than anything colors, and yeah, they have like a way high tolerance for mostly Canadians and the Americans. And yeah, I always like if I meet somebody Korean and I would just lead with English because of me, my expectation is different than mostly a white guy's expectation. So I'm just like, yep, I'm born bred in USA, and that's how I lead, because then there's a little bit of like forgiveness if I don't say da in the Panma because I'm speaking Panma, which means like informal talk. So it's like nah, and then yeah, I just lead straight up with English, and then if I do speak some Korean, it's gonna take a while, like yeah. So I get what he's saying.
Could you tell me a little bit more specifically?
Well, I don't have any examples to cite. It's just a feeling that I feel more welcome. It's just how you feel in public, around people on the subway or on the bus. I feel like Koreans feel comfortable around me. Again, I don't want to speak for the nation, but Koreans might have some reservations or feel perhaps a little bit nervous around nationalities they're less familiar with.
I've also seen the videos about Black people having bad experiences because they're Black, or because some Korean people have not seen or are not acquainted with Black people, something new to them. I have not seen that about white people, I guess, because they have been more exposed to Western media and like European media. So it's more common for Koreans to know more about white people than Black people, I guess. The only bad experience that I've had was 3 years ago when I've been blamed for a small accident that has happened there, even though I did not cause it. And it was just because I was like the foreigner there.
You see a lot of people watch you, and you kind of imagine like, are they thinking of something good or something bad? You see some people are a little bit afraid, I guess, because our height, because I'm here with my friends and we're all just really big.
Would you like to learn to play worship piano? Well, I'm a former Nashville pro, and I've developed a system that's
And sometimes I can see some comments of people who have like darker skin. They notice that people treat them differently between white people and people who have some like darker skin. Do you think there's any advantages as a white man in Korea?
I have some friends from Africa. I've heard stories, and I'm not surprised when I hear stories of people might feel a little hesitant to take a seat next to a foreigner. But honestly, I have not experienced any kind of... I mean, there are good and bad people all over the world, so I mean, anyone can have a negative experience, but I've been very fortunate, and
it's a really difficult question to parse. I think that generally speaking, white foreigners probably receive better treatment than foreigners from Southeast Asia or Africa and Korea, at least white foreigners who can speak English. But I also feel like that is also something that's been disappearing over time. And I think in Korea, there's a very big generation gap. Koreans who are maybe over 40 compared to Koreans who are maybe under 30. There's a very different relationship or opinion or something like that to the world outside of Korea. So younger people tend to accept everything as it is, and older people tend to prefer Korean ways and be skeptical or suspicious of non-Korean ways in a lot of cases.
Yeah, we had some restaurants where we went with, especially with young people who work there and who own the restaurants as well, who were like, "You're so nice, come next time, and you get extra service." And yeah, you see the girls laughing all the time, so that's quite fun and it's quite good for your self confidence, I guess.
Okay. Then, have you ever experienced any racism in Korea?
not directly. No, I haven't. And
sometimes I feel like I get treated differently for being a foreigner. A good example is I've been to the dome office where I live. I feel like one of the people who works there always treats me differently, and it annoys me. Another is that because I'm a foreigner, when I go places, often people try to speak English to me. It's fine, I understand. But the annoying thing that happens to me is when I go somewhere and I order something in Korean or I say something in Korean. And my Korean is pretty good. It's not perfect, but the person tries to speak to me in English. And it's especially strange in situations where my Korean is better than their English, but they keep trying to speak English to me. That's really annoying.
Okay, yeah, I can see why that is with this guy because yeah, because of course, the way I look, yeah, they're gonna talk to me in Korean, like, what do you want to eat? What do you want to get? If I'll just go like, yeah, and I just go on. I don't even like say much, I just point. I could respond in Korean, but I'm like, give me this here. I'll start speaking English. I don't care, and I'm just like, yep. Especially if you have a list, you're like, give me this, kimbap, yep, tteokbokki, yep, this, that. So yeah, I know he's annoyed with it, but I'm just like, whatever. But it's different. He's a white guy in Korea. I'm a Korean American, and no one knows I'm American until I open my mouth. Once they start opening my mouth, they're like, oh, you are not from here. Oh yeah. So yeah.
To be honest.
The truth is, and this isn't just Korea, this can be found in America or Europe, ignorance is everywhere. How people treat others is a case by case situation. So, yes, of course, if I hear a story where someone was mistreated, apparently not justified, then that's always going to be disheartening and disappointing, not just in Korea, but around the world. We all have to be tolerant, regardless of how we look on the outside.
I can see like some people say something or act in some way, very racism, but they don't even know if this is racism or not. I think like people have to learn about how they should behave or yeah.
That's a good point. In terms of cultural sensitivity
Oh,
and people inadvertently displaying ignorance, there's a lot of that. Unfortunately, people might not be aware that the questions they pose are hurtful or offensive. I'm not sure what to do in a situation like that, other than perhaps try to educate that person politely that what you're saying or what you're doing is painful.
Do you think Koreans have stereotype about white guys, or is there anything you have been told a lot just because you're white?
Yeah, especially in class when we have group projects, they kind of think that we are not gonna work as hard. Like we'll be a little bit laid back and lazy and we only party all day. Yeah, I guess it's kind of true because we do. So Asian people and overall just work harder, I guess. But we do it all in a different way and we all finish the job at a good time. So
I'll give you two stereotypes. One is a stereotype that my wife had before she married me. My wife is Korean, and she had the idea that, oh, white men make very good husbands, and then she married me and she found out that it is not much of a difference. The other kind of funny stereotype is these days it's not a big thing, but in the past, a lot of Korean people would assume that foreigners or white foreigners could not eat spicy food. So I had a friend who went to a restaurant one time and he ordered the spicy dish on the menu and they told him it was really spicy and he said that's okay. And they gave him a dish which was not spicy at all. So they deliberately removed the spicy ingredients. So he gave it back to them and complained and said he liked spicy food. And then the cook was angry. So they made it as spicy as they possibly could and gave it back to him.
I will say, generally, maybe some Koreans, their impression of Americans might come from Hollywood movies or television series that are popular. So maybe foreigners might seem michasa, crazy.
The last question is about experience with girls.
the girls.
Have you had any experience that girls come up to you and ask your number or give you a compliment?
They're not as direct as we are because we Dutch people are very direct. So we immediately ask stuff. I see it from my friends. They immediately go to a girl and ask like, "What's your number? Let's go home." And the Korean girls are like, "Whoa, that's too fast." But you see girls like giggling and then they shout at you, oh, so handsome, so handsome. And also, we know it in Korean now, yepayo. So we heard that now a lot of times, and it's quite funny to hear.
I can see a lot of comments that it's easier to date Korean girls if you're a white man. And do you think it's true?
I guess we desire what we do not know. I have been also told by one guy that Korean girls are interested in white guys because they're not that common here. I have also been not approached, but random girl said hi just because, she wanted, I guess, to get my attention. The grass is always greener on the other side. If you were a girl that were surrounded by Koreans and you see a foreigner, then you're more interested, I guess, maybe to approach and get to know somebody else because it's more interesting.
Yep. See, and that's the thing, it's basically you're more exotic. Like for me, I'm just an average dude. I don't even say anything. I'm just another Korean dude walking the street. But if you're like a white dude, and you're actually handsome and stuff, yeah, girls will approach you because there's so many times, I've been with like some tall, white guys or some military guys, and girls would approach them, because they're tall and handsome. And then, of course, and then if they don't speak any Korean, and the thing is, they did speak Korean, and the group asked me, like, Muslims? Well, I'm like, yo, I'm from the States, man. I speak English. Oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. That's why I'm hanging out with these guys. We're we're native speakers from our countries. We can talk and stuff. So, yeah, I'm not just, just trying to hang out with white dudes for clout. I'm just like, yo, we just met, and we talking, we rolling, and I don't even care what the girls, I'm not even thinking that, but yeah. But let's continue.
Because you're not acquainted with that. I don't know. If you have been watching lots of Western media, then you also might have like a romanticized vision of a white guy or Westerner person. I guess the same goes the other way. If you watch a lot of K-dramas, then you have a romanticized vision of a Korean boyfriend or Korean girlfriend in your head. So I think it goes both ways.
Korean women and their taste for men, I don't know. I think there might be some curiosity. Maybe they might want to spend time with a foreigner, but my impression is they might want to date a foreigner, but ultimately they will marry a Korean guy.
Do you have anything you want to say to people who want to come to Korea and worried about discrimination or being different from others?
Korea is a unique country. I highly recommend visiting if you're able to, or if you're a young person, consider studying abroad. The experience is ineffable. It's beyond words, beyond description. I don't know how long I will live here, but I'll always have a special place in my heart for Korea. Again, every country has some challenges. There's no perfect society, but overall, it's been a sensational experience. I have no regrets at all, and whatever your nationality or race, it's certainly a country worth visiting.
Thank you so much for the interview today. I hope you have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for interviewing me. This has been fun.
All right, see you again.
All right. So, yep, good old Gene interviews, and yeah, so we get a view of, yep, what's a white guy in Korea? But of course, it's changing today, like maybe 20 years ago, Whitey was curious for the Korean girl. Now, this is what something my buddy says. He's a white dude that's married to a Korean. He's like, yep, those days are kind of gone, those days kind of disappeared because, hey, it's the country has advanced, just like it's becoming it's a first world, like almost like what a first world Western country is. But yeah, they're just like, yep, okay, I got too many guys in my DMs. We have social media. Oh yeah, I have this guy. I mean, it's crazy. Like even like an average Korean chick, said, "Oh, I'm going to Australia," or "I'm going here." "Oh, come over." Oh, there's that little simp dude like, "Come on, and you come over here." I'm just like, oh God, really? So yeah, but it is what it is. All right, so if any of you enjoyed any of this content, please give me the HKL special. Help the king out. Hit the like, subscribe, and comment, and wherever you are, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video.